Welcome into College Basketball Recruiting Weekly. I'm your host, Adam Finkelstein, the 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting. Now, if you are a college basketball fan, you know there are three things going on this time of year. Of course, we've got March Madness and the NCAA Tournament. We've also got the transfer portal and college free agency, so to speak. Last but not least, the coaching carousel is now spinning at full speed. We are going to talk about all three of those things on this week's show, as well as an upcoming commitment this week. Now, for the better part of this season, we've invested a lot of time breaking down the best NBA prospects playing college basketball. But with March Madness upon us, now we're going to change that a little bit and focus on the best college players, because the reality is they're not always the same. So I'm going to bring in Travis Branham, and he's going to break down right off the bat someone who is right at the top of both lists. So the number one player in the South region, Trav, who's also the top NBA prospect in the South region. Who you got?
Well, he's also the top NBA prospect in all of college basketball. And the person we are talking about is Alabama's Brandon Miller. He is the best freshman in the entire country. He is must-watch TV, a 6'8", 6'9" wing who scores it from all three levels. And this is a kid who exited high school not necessarily known as a shooter, but known as a scorer. The two don't necessarily go hand in hand, but he has really improved in the shooting department, especially from beyond the three-point line. He's got the size, the length, the skill set, just an absolute offensive weapon, and he is tearing it up already in March, having won the SEC Tournament MVP. If you haven't seen Brandon Miller yet, I couldn't encourage you enough to make sure to check him out. So, Fink, I'm going to toss it back to you. Who do you like out of the Midwest?
So, in my mind, the best college player in the Midwest region is Indiana's Trayce Jackson-Davis. I mean, he went on a run in the middle of the season where he took his game to totally unprecedented levels. I think everyone knows the 6'9" southpaw. He's strong, he's athletic. I mean, some of his highlights in terms of dunks and explosive finishes are absolutely off the charts. But what he's done on the defensive end in terms of being able to finish possessions on the glass and simultaneously assert himself as a rim protector, that's been really impressive to me. Those don't always go hand in hand either. To be able to do both is just a bit of a game changer. And then offensively, the biggest area of growth in my mind has been the evolution of his passing ability. Indiana is playing through him. He's showing great poise on the block. He's also stepping up to the high post and taking less mobile big men off the dribble. So in my mind, he is the best player in that Midwest region. Now, we will go out east. Who do you like in that region?
It is the best player in all of college basketball, and that is Purdue's Zach Edey. When you're comparing two guys, as you were saying, not necessarily are the best NBA prospects, the best college prospects, and that is the case with Edey. He's the best college prospect, but he's not necessarily a great NBA prospect. Stands 7'4", 300 pounds. He's just an absolute force in the paint. A guy that I don't know how anybody is able to game plan for. He just takes up so much space. He eats up every single rebound. He draws so much contact around the rim, and he's not explosive by any means. He's slow getting up and down the floor, but his sheer presence, just being around the rim, makes guys think twice every single time that they are inside that paint. So we always talk about how guards win in March, but this year will be the question, do the bigs win it? Specifically, does Purdue win it? Playing behind Zach Edey. So now we finish this off heading into the West. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off that statement. We came into this college basketball season. It was billed as the year of the big man. The NCAA tournament looks similar to your point. We're going to find out if guards really do win. I'm going to go with Gonzaga's Drew Timme. In some ways, I think the pressure is actually off this season. Gonzaga in each of the last two NCAA tournaments came in as, is this the year they can win it? Is this the year they can win it? You don't hear a whole lot of people talking about them right now, despite the fact that they brought almost everybody back. I know Chet Holmgren was the number 2 pick in the draft, but Drew Timme is probably the most polished low-post scorer in all of college basketball. Again, not a great NBA prospect. I was at the NBA Combine. He didn't light the place on fire with his athleticism. He's not necessarily the floor spacer or the versatile defender they want. But when it comes to someone you can play through at the college level, who knows how to win games, who knows how to score points with his back to the basket, and can be an absolute anchor of a team on an offensive end, I think Drew Timme is as good as anyone. And I'm very interested to see if this is the year when no one's talking about Gonzaga when they end up making a run. All right, now one of the best parts of March Madness is seeing which mid-major stars come to the forefront of the NCAA Tournament. Obviously, there's been a number of these players that have used this as a starting point to go to NBA stardom. Well, will that happen this year? We're not sure, but we have a couple leading candidates. And to go over those, I'm going to bring in my colleagues, Eric Bossi and Travis Branham, to help break down the best mid-major prospects and players in this year's NCAA Tournament. So, Bossi, I'm going to start with you, and I know you're going with a guy that you've watched for a long, long time.
Yeah, call me biased, but I'm going to go with Tucker DeVries, who I've literally seen grow up from a baby. I've known his father for 20-plus years now. Darren DeVries, the head coach, is head coach at Drake. And, you know, Tucker is just everything you want in that mid-major star. He can step out and shoot the ball at 6'7". He's the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year as a sophomore after being Freshman of the Year last year. He shoots the ball 39%. He takes a lot of threes, 7 per game. He'll get in there, he'll rebound. He's going to play at the 4, and he's going to present a really big matchup problem for a lot of teams when they meet him. And Drake is a team that I think could get hot and win a game or two and possibly even make the Sweet 16 coming off of the Missouri Valley Championship.
Yeah, he makes all types of shots, too, and when he gets going, it just opens the game up for everybody else. Trav, who you got, mid-major star?
I'm going to have some fun with this one. I am going with A.J. Mitchell out of UCSB, a former, and I do emphasize former, top 150 prospect in the 2021 recruiting class, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. He is the Big West Player of the Year, extremely crafty and skilled, a pick-and-roll maestro. He gets his teammates involved, but he can also really fill it up. People are going to be tuning in to watch this game against Baylor to see guys like Keontae George, but they will be pleasantly surprised with A.J. Mitchell, a kid who has grown from 6'1" from the time we had him in the top 150 before he's happened to fall out of those rankings to now 6'4". And people are going to be, again, very surprised, and he could be one of the best guards, if not the best guard on the floor that night.
All right, believe in the late bloomer. I'm going with Aiden Mahaney from St. Mary's, and this has been an interesting season for him because obviously he's exceeded all expectations, joining a St. Mary's team where he's surrounded by 4 veteran starters. And I'm talking about 4 guys who've been in the program for 3+ years. Logan Johnson, his backcourt mate, leads the team in scoring and assists, but he really frees up Aiden to look for his own offense. We know he can shoot the ball, but have been so impressed with the way he's really emerged in terms of his toughness, not just physical, but mental, really challenging those older teammates, asserting himself, and just showing no hesitation and no fear. His emergence has been such a big storyline for a St. Mary's team that has had a great season. For much more on the mid-major, high-major stars, and all the potential stars of March, visit 247sports.com. Now, while the NCAA Tournament is going in full swing, so too is the transfer portal, which officially opened on Monday with over 150 players going portaling in day 1 alone, including a number of big names now. So again, going to bring back in Travis Branham and Eric Bossi to help me break down some of the very best players in the portal. I'm going to go with someone who's in his mid-20s, and that's Fardaws Aimaq, leaving Texas Tech. As we know, season did not go according to plan. With various injuries and other considerations that could have potentially kept him off the floor, but was vastly considered to be one of the best transfers in last year's portal, and I think he's got that kind of upside this season. This is a guy who I saw in prep school. He went to Bridgeton Academy in Maine, and when I tell you he has transformed his body in the years since then, that is an understatement. The commitment he has shown to his fitness has really allowed him to take his game to completely new levels. Now, if he can get healthy and stay healthy, I think you have an opportunity to find someone who's, honestly, I mean, he's in his mid-20s. Talk about someone who can come in and make an immediate impact. So it's going to be very interesting to see where he ends up. Travis, I know you are the czar of the portal, so we are going to end with you. Who's a name that has stood out to you so far?
He is arguably the biggest name, the hottest name to hit the portal, and that is Sky Clark out of Illinois, a former five-star freshman who was initially signed to the University of Kentucky. During late in his senior season, he requested his release from Kentucky, found his way to Illinois, and now here we are again, just 12 months later, and he is back on the market. He will be taking an official visit to Louisville today, and that seems to be the leader for Clark, and I do not anticipate this recruitment taking long. He could be the first big name off of the market in the portal as we speak.
All right, there you have it. Last week, Travis predicted Chris Beard to Ole Miss. This week, he's predicting a transfer to Louisville. You can see all of Travis's rankings of the top transfers in the country at 247sports.com. All right, the coaching carousel is fully spinning, and here's what I would say about this. My pet peeve is when athletic directors fire their coach and don't know what they're going to do next. So whether you like the hire or not, I think you've got to give Ole Miss and Georgia Tech a lot of credit. They knew who they were targeting. They went and got Chris Beard. They went and got Damon Stoudamire, and they are quickly able to move on and get into the portal and the rest of the recruiting. While there are other big names, big jobs still to be determined. So Bossi, I'm going to start with you. What is the thing that stands out most to you so far about this coach's carousel?
Like you said, you've got Ole Miss and Georgia Tech moving quickly, and I like what Georgia Tech did with Damon Stoudamire. I think it's kind of an interesting hire. I know it's not a guy people would have thought of right off the bat, but he's a former NBA guy, an NBA rookie of the year during his time, and he's coming off the bench with the Boston Celtics, so he's going to have that NBA connection to step in. And he's also a guy. He's not one of these guys coming from the NBA who has no college experience.
Right.
He's been an assistant at Memphis. He's been an assistant in Arizona, and he's been a head coach at Pacific. So I think he's going to enter with a much more clear understanding of what it needs to be done coming in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Trav, one of the big names still on the board, everyone's speculating about, we talked about him last week, Rick Pitino. He's done nothing to dismiss any of those rumors. I think it's widely assumed he won't be at Iona next year, but what is the latest intel you're hearing about where Pitino might land?
All signs right now are pointing to him ending up at St. John's. Now, he's also been linked publicly to Texas Tech, which would be a very intriguing option. You're talking about a program in the Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma both leaving for the SEC in just a couple of years. They have an endless amount of resources, it seems. So he could do some serious damage there, but as of now, it still seems as though that St. John's is the leader to land the Hall of Fame coach.
And one of the things that's interesting, it's being reported that Pitino would have interest in Georgetown, but that interest is not yet mutual. Georgetown reportedly has not reached out, focusing on Penn State head coach Micah Shrewsbury and Providence head coach Ed Cooley. Micah Shrewsbury being mentioned for other jobs as well. I will say this, I don't see Ed Cooley leaving Providence for Georgetown. I know his daughter went to school there. She's going to graduate this spring. I know he has a ton of respect for that program, but I also think we have seen this story played out before. You got to keep in mind there's a new president and there's a new athletic director within the last 3 years. Both of those positions have turned over at Providence College. Providence College has shown Ed Cooley an immense amount of loyalty over the years, and deservedly so. Not just in terms of the amount of years and things like that they've given him, but a terrific commitment from the practice facility. I think he wants to see if the current administration is going to live up to what the past administration did. If they do that, they should lock him up for the foreseeable future. And let me just say this on the record. They better do that, because they may not know what they have. If they let him walk, they're going to regret it. Brings me to my last point, and that is, Bossi, I'm going to ask you this. Rodney Terry, has he won this Texas job at this point, or where are we at in that?
Wow, it's certainly a raging debate here in Big 12 country, and he's got a serious backing going on. The fan base is pretty behind him, especially after being named Sporting News Coach of the Year and winning the Big 12 tournament. He's received public support multiple times now from their signed recruits, Ron Holland and A.J. Johnson. And if you look at what he's done strictly this year with that Texas team, he's done a great job with them, and he looks capable of handling the job. Now, I know there are some people who have some concerns about his previous stops as a head coach, but if we're going strictly by what he's done at Texas and the support that he has right now, he's got a real good chance. I think it's going to come down to what he does in the NCAA tournament. But if Texas makes a run to the Elite Eight, the Final Four even, it's going to be hard for them to say, hey, you can't come back and coach.
Yeah, I'm not sure what more else Rodney Terry could have done. Like the transfer portal, like March Madness, everything you need to know about the coaching carousel can also be found on 247sports.com. We may be in the midst of March Madness, but I'll tell you what, recruiting never stops, and I'm not just talking about the transfer portal. In fact, this Friday, live on the 247 Sports channel, Trentyn Flowers will become the latest high-profile prospect in the national class of 2024 to make an early commitment. To help me break that down, I'm going to bring back in Travis Branham. Now, Travis, what can you tell us about Trentyn Flowers in terms of what he brings to the table as a player, and who are some of his finalists?
When you're looking at natural physical tools in the entire junior class, Trentyn Flowers is arguably one of the top prospects in the entire country. Talking about a 6'8" wing with a tremendous amount of athleticism, a player who can literally put his head on the rim if he has space in transition. Trentyn has really improved over the last 6 to 12 months, especially since his move over to Combine. He's really bought into a role as an active wing, using his athleticism and his physical tools to his advantage as a cutter, as a rim runner, as a rebounder, defender. His half-court skill set is a work in progress. He has continued to improve in those areas, and they are remaining as areas to continue improving, especially in his long-range shooting. But when you're looking at physical tools, natural talent, Trentyn Flowers has it all, and there's a ton of upside to tap into in the future.
All right, now who are some of the schools that are in contention heading into Friday's announcement?
Yeah, Trentyn is down to 6 finalists, and those are North Carolina, Alabama, Kansas, Arkansas, Creighton, and Louisville. So when he makes this announcement, this will be coming down between these 6 schools. Alabama is a team that he has had a very long-standing relationship with, so that will be a team to watch. Louisville has been having a tremendous amount of buzz in this recruitment as of late. But as of now, Trentyn told me he still has not made up his mind. So we will find out where that destination will ultimately be come Friday.
And you can watch it live on the 247 Sports channel this Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Trentyn Flowers comes off the board on the 247 Sports channel. That's it for another episode of College Basketball Recruiting Weekly. And I'm going to keep saying it. In between shows, make sure you are visiting 247sports.com, because it's the only place where you can find out everything you need to know about college basketball recruiting, and the NBA draft. 247sports.com. We'll see you next week.